Welcome back to North Dakota Today, live in Minneapolis. Right now we are inside of the Minneapolis Convention Center, so we are checking out the Super Bowl live experience powered by Genesis. And Chris, we have a really great person here with us today.
Very excited to have this person with us because we actually wouldn't be at the Super Bowl experience if it wasn't for this gentleman, former Moorhead mayor, former representative of the great state of Minnesota, Morrie Lanning. Mr. Lanning, thank you so much for being here.
Well,
I don't even know where to start. You were at this amazing party last night that your wife just told us, your beautiful wife goes, Chris, it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
It was, yeah.
Let's start with the party last night. How was it? Who was there? What was going on?
Well, all the key players were there. We had an opportunity to visit with all the people that we worked with in making this thing happen. And starting, of course, with the Wilfs, both Ziggy and Mark, and all of their key staff. And our Senator Rosen, who was the Senate author of the bill, had a chance to visit with her and catch up on some of that fun that we went through. What a great experience last night. This whole thing has been a great experience. And Minnesota is very fortunate not to just to have the Super Bowl, but to have a new facility that we would have probably lost the team if we hadn't built this.
So I'm curious, what did the Wilfs and Mr. Goodell, you talked to Roger Goodell as well last night.
Yes.
What did the Wilfs and Mr. Goodell have to say to you about everything?
Well, they were very excited about this opportunity to come together and thank people who were involved in making this happen. They're really up on cloud nine with this whole experience. There are a lot of the other owners were at this event last night, and so it was quite an interesting collection of people and a lot of key figures from the state of Minnesota who helped along the way too.
Let's talk about the entertainment as well. Sting played for us.
Yeah,
Sting.
Sting.
Group of 1,500 people.
Yeah,
what was
in
that
fact,
like?
I don't usually watch the Grammys, but I heard that Stink was going to be on, so I watched the Grammys, and he's quite an entertainer. But little, not always my type of music, but I enjoyed it anyway.
Go ahead, Lars.
Well, I was just going to ask, watching this you've seen it from the start to this point where Super Bowl 52 is now being held inside of U.S. Bank Stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, for you, too, you must be floating on cloud nine, and it's kind of almost come full circle seeing this project finish and do what it needed to do.
Absolutely. It's very gratifying to see this accomplishment for the state of Minnesota and really the whole region. And throughout the whole process, we felt all kinds of support throughout Minnesota, but also North Dakota and South Dakota. And this is really a regional facility. And we're so happy to keep the team in Minnesota that all of us can cheer for. And, all along, we had people saying, well, the Vikings aren't going to leave. You don't need to build a stadium. They're going to stay here. Well, we knew all along that they wouldn't move the team. That they made it very clear they wouldn't move the team, but they never once said they wouldn't sell the team. And what I was really worried about was that the Wilfs could sell the team, make a nice profit, and we would be talking about the Los Angeles Vikings this year instead of the Minnesota Vikings. And that's what would have happened.
But then you guys stepped in, created the U.S. Bank Stadium, and now here we are. So have you kind of pinched yourself yet? Does it hit you that you were the genesis of this?
Well, it's very gratifying, and I've told people all along I could write a book about this experience. I mean, the ups and downs, the ordeal that we sometimes had to go through, the harassment we had to suffer. People wanted to do bodily harm to us, but we just kept plugging away. And I always said, got patience, perseverance, and being professional and doing what you're doing. And when I had people throwing things at me and criticizing, you just don't respond the same way. You just handle it professionally, and in the end, that paid off, and that's what got it done.
I got to ask you about last night because this was a Vikings VIP event, and so in my eyes, I think the Vikings had a great season, but after the Minnesota Miracle, everyone sort of felt like, hey, they're destined to be here in their own stadium. What was the vibe like last night with the Vikings? Were they excited about the season, or kind of like, we really should be there?
Well, they're very thankful for the good season that we had, the team had. Obviously everybody's disappointed because we really thought that we were going to be there, but that didn't work out that way. And I've suffered through all of the heartaches over the years. 4 Super Bowls that we lost, 5 championships we lost. So I've been through all of that, and so it's just another one. But one of these days, it's going to change. maybe next year.
Amen to that.
I was going to say, I feel like that's kind of always the Vikings mentality. Maybe next year. But I know that, too, one of the big things is that this is such a big opportunity, not just for U.S. Bank Stadium, but for the whole Minneapolis region and the state, too.
Right,
I'm sure there's
right.
a lot of people who are thankful that we were able to bring this here this year.
Absolutely. From all over. And North Dakota particularly. I've always felt the North Dakota people have been just as supportive and wanting this to happen as we were in Minnesota, and so we're very, very glad that it's happened and very proud of it, and we hope now everybody will enjoy it even more.
One last quick question for you, because you mentioned this off camera. You said when you were talking to the Wilfs last night, saying, hey, the stadium's here, but what has it meant for other economic development in the Minneapolis area? What did he say?
Well, that's something that we always talked about along the way of trying to get this accomplished. With the Metrodome, there wasn't one of the big disappointments with it, there wasn't much development that occurred around it. We really felt going into this, given the Wilfs and their record of being, they're developers. They know how to do things, to build and expand. Right now, Mark Wolf told me last night that they're looking at over $2 billion of economic development around the stadium since the stadium has come here. And not only that, the Wilfs are spending another $1 billion plus on their training facility, which is going to be a world-class facility, and right here in Minnesota, and Egan, the old Northwest Airlines site, and that's going to be a wow facility. It's going to be finished up now later this year, so I told him I'm anxious to go get a cook's tour of that. So
maybe you can give Christy the goods on that one, and she can help break that story when it's all good to go. Right?
I'll come and I'll do the experience with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. You got
Mr.
a deal.
Lanning, congratulations,
thanks,
my
Chris.
friend.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you so much. I'm
bet.
glad you got to be here. And then he's actually going to get to walk around now, get to enjoy a lot of these different experiences that they have out here at the convention center, which will be a lot of fun.
You bet.
He said he wouldn't be doing any running, but maybe tackle Chris a little bit
he
later.
And Christy were you going to teach her how to do a shiver or something like that? You were saying
shiver.
forearm shiver.
A farm shiver on Chris Berg. He'll be my person I have to do it on. So we have much more to come here live in Minneapolis in just a bit.